calling it like it is, bringing the community together and working for justice. Attorney Travis McConnell talks politics, trending news, and how you can make a difference. You're listening to We Trust Travis. Hi, everyone. I'm Serena Fazan, a journalist, host, and producer, and I am honored to launch the We Trust Travis podcast. Travis McConnell is a personal injury attorney with a huge passion for the community. So let's get to it. Travis, thank you so much. So tell us why you want to launch We Trust Travis.
The main reason was to stay in touch with people, make sure and be here to answer questions, provide that assistance to everybody, and just stay in touch with everybody. Communication is so key.
It is absolutely key. And I know you have such a huge passion for the community, and I want to get into all of that. But give us a little bit of history, like where you live. I know you've been practicing for 11 years now, right? And you have a Florida and you have a two-state connection.
That's correct. Yeah, I practiced both in Florida and in Indiana. So I grew up in outside a small town called Cherubusco, Indiana, is where I grew up, and moved away from Indiana after college, like a lot of Indiana Hoosiers do, and moved to Florida because of the sunshine and great weather and lots of stuff to do, and lived there for 5, 6 years before moving back home to raise the kids and be close to family. And kept the office. So now I have a multi-state law practice in both Florida and Indiana. Our main location is in St. Petersburg, Florida. Started that office right out of law school, as it were, hung our own shingle, followed in, I guess, my grandfather and father's footsteps of making my own business. And then our office here in Indiana is in Warsaw, where I live now.
Well, you, how is it trying to maintain the two practices in two different states?
It's a little tricky. Luckily, I have a really good team. I couldn't do it by myself, that's for sure. Starts at home. I've got an amazing wife and great kids that are very understanding of when I need to travel and my workaholic nature, as it were. In addition to the office, also all the volunteering that I do in the community, but also have a great team at the office. We have great assistants and paralegals and other attorneys down in Florida that assist when needed to make sure and keep things moving forward.
And I know you mentioned your wife and your two kids. So Will, you have a 7-year-old, Will, right? And Ellie, that's 4.
That's correct. Yep.
And your wife, Sarah.
And then my wife, Sarah. Yep.
That's awesome. So let me ask you, I know that you focus on many areas of your practice, but personal injury is a passion of yours?
Correct. We do predominantly personal injury. We do a little bit of criminal defense in Indiana only, where I'm principally at, because there's a lot more active court hearings that happen with that than with personal injury. So I need to be here to be able to walk across the street, as it were, to the Justice Center to be able to handle those. But it's predominantly personal injury.
So Travis, why did you decide to do personal injury? And I know workers' compensation and getting workers, everything they're entitled to is extremely important to you. Why did you decide to go into that direction?
Yeah. So I kind of fell into it a little bit, but not really. I mean, I always kind of wanted to help people. Before I was a lawyer, I wanted to be a doctor, and before that, when I was a real little kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, like every little boy.
Oh.
But I think what drew me to personal injury in particular was being able to fight tough fights and help people at the same time. Uh, when you're dealing with a personal injury case, you're not dealing with the defendant usually, who's the one that caused the negligent act, the crash or the fall or whatever it was. You're dealing with their insurance company. That's usually the one that you're dealing with. And they're big multi-million, if not billion-dollar companies that don't like to play fair necessarily with people. And so the great thing about personal injury is it allows us to level the playing field, which may sound cliche, but I mean, personal injury lawyers are paid a percentage of what we get for our clients. So someone who has literally nothing can hire us to come in, and then will not only not have to pay us anything up front, but the office will advance costs typically on your case to fight the case that needs to be fought to ultimately win and then get recovery on the back end against a big opponent that you wouldn't be able to take on by yourself.
Absolutely. So I know you also do a lot of work with migrant workers, correct? That are, bilingual. Maybe some of them is, English certainly is their second language, maybe not even speaking English that well.
Yeah, so I'm bilingual in Spanish and English, and when I first started my practice, I did predominantly workers' compensation claims, and that was a lot of what we did in Florida, and we still do some workers' compensation claims as well, and we have another attorney that will often refer things to if we don't handle it ourselves. But the main issue on those claims is if you're able to find someone else who is at fault, then to make a full personal injury claim for those people. Because the big difference between workers' comp and personal injury is they're two totally different sets of laws. And workers' comp has some upsides, but a lot of downsides, where you don't get a full recovery that you would get in a personal injury case. So if we're able to find a personal injury, what's called we will definitely always explore that option and help people out with that. And then oftentimes we'll assist with the workers' comp, even if we're not able to have the personal injury claim.
So
And,
one
and a lot of what we do in Florida, especially starting out my practice, being bilingual, and just there's a lot of farm injuries. So there's a lot of agriculture in Florida. Maybe people on the coast don't know about as much, but the interior of Florida is basically strawberry fields, orange groves, all that sort of stuff. Um, Tomatoes down farther south, and there's a lot of injuries that happen with people. A lot of manual labor. People trip, twist their ankles. People backs give out after picking tons of tomatoes and other produce. People fall from ladders and orange trees, that sort of thing.
As a journalist, we did cover a lot of those stories, sadly, where you did see a lot of those workers get injured. And it's great to know that there are attorneys like you that have their best interest and any of your clients in mind. So when someone is seeking a personal injury attorney or a worker's, comp claim, what questions, Travis, should they be asking? What type of attorney should they be looking for? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is you want to ask number one, who's the attorney that's going to handle your case? And ideally, you're going to be meeting with that attorney. A lot of times, bigger firms and even some of the smaller firms operate under what's called a kind of a mill type practice where they churn and burn lots of files, where you're just a file and you may not even meet the lawyer, or you don't meet them until way late in your case, if ever. So you want to know who the lawyer is that's going to be handling your case. And ideally, you want to be able to talk to that person. And then once you know who that person is, you want to know what their qualifications are. So you should be asking about how many types of cases do you do? Do you handle this type of case? How many cases like this have you had before? Uh, what other types of cases do you do? How long have you been doing this? Those sorts of questions. What's your success rate? You're allowed to ask all those types of questions. How are you charging? Are you charging the same as everybody else, more or less? Those sorts of things.
I think you brought up a very important several key and important points, but when you talked about with personal injury specifically, a lot of times it is based on you don't pay the attorney immediately. It's what the claim when the claim comes back. Correct?
Yeah. The vast majority, almost all of our personal injury cases are handled on a contingency fee basis. That means you don't pay unless we win. So it's a percentage of of the total recovery, and so that percentage can vary sometimes based on the type of case, based on the law firm that you're talking to may charge more or less. Are they going to advance costs? Costs are in addition to fees. So fee is what the lawyer gets paid. Costs are, for example, to file a lawsuit in the state of Florida is a little over $400. Is the lawyer going to expect you to pay that, or is the law office going to pay that? And then there's deposition fees and all sorts of other costs that come along separate from the fees, where those are things that are paid to someone other than the attorney. And usually personal injury law firms will advance those costs on behalf of their clients on personal injury
So
claims.
is that something that a client should ask though and look for that they advance those costs? Because I know those depositions can certainly add up.
They very much can. I mean, if you're going to take a case to trial, you're looking at probably at least $20,000 in cost, if not more, between all the different costs that go into it. A large percentage of that is often paying the doctors to testify once you're actually going to trial. But even without that, you're looking at typically $1,000+ in cost on an ordinary case. Um, so yeah, it's a question that you're going to want to know. Am I going to have to pay those costs myself? Or is it something that the law office is willing to invest in the case in addition to not getting paid till the back end to advance those costs? And if the answer is no, you may ask, Well, why? And maybe it's because your case isn't as strong and they want you to put some skin in the game. And that may just be the case that you'll hear from multiple lawyers. Or maybe it's the law firm you're talking to isn't as well funded as a different law firm and a different law firm would do it.
And you also said it's very important to meet the attorney that could be representing you, because I do know sometimes when people do seek these attorneys, they're not meeting the attorney. They might be meeting, a paralegal, an assistant, and we certainly appreciate those people. We certainly do. But if you have someone that is going to be representing you, it is very important, right, to get that face to face.
I know I especially appreciate those people at my office because they make my job possible to do all the things that I do. But yeah, no, it's I, in the buzzword of 2020, it's essential, in my opinion, to meet with the lawyer and be able to at least, if you're not meeting face to face, talk to that lawyer on the phone. I mean, you're paying for a lawyer, so why shouldn't you be able to talk to that lawyer? They're not gonna charge you a paralegal percentage rate on the contingency fee. They're gonna charge you the legal percentage rate. So you should, if you're hiring a lawyer, you should be able to talk to that lawyer, and you should be able to talk to that lawyer on a fairly regular basis. I provide all my clients my cell phone number, and I make a point to try and call them back if they leave me a voicemail, usually within 24 to 48 hours. And that's only if I can't answer the phone, which sometimes I can't because I'm busy, but I try to answer their calls as much as possible too.
Well, it's very, very clear that you care about your clients and you care about the community, as we mentioned earlier, because I want to transition into, not only are you an attorney, you also wanted to get into the political arena and you ran for county commissioner this year. And I know that you put in a very good fight, but unfortunately, you did not win this race. Not saying that it's over by a long shot. You're very, very young. So young, you look great. I mean, you have a huge political career, could potentially. Why did you want to run, though, Travis, for county commissioner?
The big reason that prompted me to jump into the political arena was just to try and bring people together. There's so much divisiveness.
So, Travis, did you feel that it was more important to run this year because of the unprecedented climate that we're living in right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess that's one of the main things that drove me into it was all the continued division. So I think that was part of what propelled me into it. And it wasn't just me here locally. We had a full slate of people that ran that came out of, a lot of them came out of the George Floyd protests that got involved after that. I had kind of announced before, and we had a whole bunch of people that also decided to run for county council that had never run before and had a full slate for that, which is not typical for our area. And then we also had a contested judges race as well. So I think it was just to let people know that it matters that all the voices get heard, and that with the results, I think we saw that it's even more important to keep moving forward, and that our country is so divided, and there's a lot of work to be done on both sides to try and remind people that, again, we just need to get out from behind our computer screens and actually talk to each other and realize that we have more in common than we don't.
So, your decision then to take on this political arena or go into politics was really based on what's happening in the community. Like when you were a child, I know that there was a time where you wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, and then you transitioned and you had an injury, right? You played football and you broke a wrist in high school, actually, and even played with a broken wrist.
Yep, I got the scar here to prove it, but yeah.
Bless your heart. But I know that you transitioned from wanting to be an orthopedic surgeon and then, moving into law. With politics, was that ever a dream of yours as a child, or was it again because of, the climate we are living in now?
So I grew up I was actually really Republican household that I grew up in. My grandmother was an assessor and real big GOP supporter. Lots of elephants in her house, elephant slippers I would wear when I went over to grandma's house. And so we would joke a lot of the times about, McConnell 2020 for president growing up. And it was something that was talked about. I did get a little bit involved in the political arena in college as well. So I studied, after I decided I didn't want to be an orthopedic surgeon, became a political science major among a couple others. And I actually did an internship for the state Republican Party. And then I did an internship at the Canadian Parliament and did politics for a little while. And then I kind of, the more I got into it, the more I saw, how the sausage is made, I guess, as they say, and said, maybe I don't really want to do this either. And then I decided, let me check out law school and see what being a lawyer is about, and then loved that and loved what I could do with that and being able to help people on a more direct level in the community. Because I think one thing that we see with politics is a lot of times politics is reactionary to what's going on in the society and it isn't necessarily an agent for change. It's responding to changes that are already happening. And so kind of got out of that and focused on that non-governmental sector, focused on helping people directly, working with not-for-profits. You mentioned the migrant workers earlier. There's a big coalition of Immokalee workers down in Immokalee that I would do a lot of work with and still help them out as much as I can, as well as several other non-for-profits that I'm a part of, and one here in Warsaw that I even started myself to try and inspire inclusion is our mission, to bring everybody together.
Well, it's people like you that make the world a much better place, certainly. Um, with the loss, though, of the county commission seat, what is the lessons in losing there? Or do you plan on running again, or what words of encouragement would you have?
I mean, there's certainly strategy things that when you lose, you evaluate what could be done better, those sorts of things. But I think the big lesson in losing that people hopefully focus on is, just persistence. And, people are like, are you going to, there was a lot of people like, oh, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm fine. It's okay. We might not have won the first time, but we'll keep at it and be persistent. You don't give up, And the other guy that I was running against isn't a terrible guy. And people know it's all right. He's going to do fine and we'll keep at it. And yeah, keep your sign. We'll run again. So I think that the big lesson is just the attitude and the perspective of don't dwell on the loss. Think about how to move forward and go from there.
And I know Ellie is only 4, your daughter, so, at 4 years old, you may not, comprehend as much, right? But Will is 7 years old. So, I think, to show the strength that you have to your children, and of course your wife too, is important, don't you think, to share that lesson with the young ones?
Yeah, totally agree. We try to have life lessons, try to instill values in the kids. We've got a list of values on the wall that we go over from time to time. And but I remember I had a specific discussion with my son Will after the election. I don't remember if he prompted it with a question about the election and losing. But it's like, it's okay. We didn't win, and sometimes you don't always win, son. And that's important to know, that you just keep moving forward. And that's one of our values, is perseverance, moving forward, and to try and lead by example too, and not only show them. Sometimes when you lose, you get upset and you kind of throw a fit. We don't need to do that. We just need to keep moving forward. So
I know actions can speak so much louder than words, and what a great example that you are setting for your friends, family, and the young ones. I just think it is so important. But you did say that this isn't over, right? You do plan on running again.
yeah, we'll run again. We've got picked up and collected a lot of our signs. A lot of people held on to them and they put them inside, and we let them know keep them. Either in the next 2 or 4 years, depending on which districts I end up in. With redistricting this year, who knows which district I'll end up in? But yeah.
And will you pursue county commission again? Why county commission? Why is that particular seat so important to you? Or will you look at other open positions?
I mean, I'm open to other positions, but I guess the reason why commissioner stuck out to me is they really have a lot of the power in the county. So on a county level, for people that don't know, there's commissioners and council members basically, and the council is kind of the tight on the budget. They control the budget and the purse, as it were, and the commissioners pretty much do everything else. So it's kind of a quasi legislative, quasi executive. They have pretty broad powers to do different things, and the check and balances, again, like if the council doesn't give them money, they can't really do a lot of things. So they control the money. But beyond that, they have a lot of control to make things better. They do. The big thing to me is economic development. And so that's one thing that directly falls under the commissioner's office, to really try and spur economic development, continue to do things. I'm in a more rural county. There's around 80,000 people total in our county where I live here in Warsaw, and there's a lot that can be done to make this a better place for the next generation, for my generation and younger. Um, and there's a lot more that could be done for economic development to continue to draw people here. And that's something that's specifically controlled by the commissioners. So I think that's one thing that appeals to me more is you're able to do much more as a commissioner than you could in the other capacities. But of course, being in any of it, there's influence and input that can be given along the way. So
So until that political door opens again, you will continue to persist on helping all your clients.
that's correct. Yeah, and even if I win that door, that was something I got questions of. Well, are you going to be able to still be a lawyer? And I'm like, no, I'll still be a lawyer. It's just this will be my big community thing. I'll probably have to scale back some of the other community things, but it's not a full time job. It's probably a part time job though if you're going to do it right. And so yeah, the legal thing continues whether I win or lose, and that's something that's always going to be there. I truly love what I do. I have a passion for helping people, and I just love that I'm blessed with the ability to have a job, a career where two characteristics of my personality. I like to fight. I'm a fighter and fighting tough fights, and then I like to help people, and I get to do both.
That's wonderful. So on your podcast, We Trust Travis, what type of topics can we expect as we move forward? And I just want to let you know that I am honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, thank you for being a part of it and for helping make it happen. I think one big thing is I want to make sure that this is a way that we can provide information to people to answer some questions that maybe people are wondering. If you have questions, let us know and we can address particular areas maybe. But I think another thing is just sharing some of our stories. Some of our clients really would like their stories to be heard. And this is a better way to get that out to more people, where there's something cathartic, therapeutic about just having your story told for people that have been through traumatic situations, to know that people will hopefully learn from it and the differences, change will happen. That's one thing that I love about personal injury law too, is sometimes people joke about if it wasn't for all the lawyers, we could still have the lawn darts and things like that, and we take away all the fun things. But it's because we make changes in our society. We hold people accountable and we make sure that things are taken care of, make sure that people are taken care of. So I think what you get to look forward to is some of those fun stories about some of our cases that are pretty interesting. We have cases about the gentleman that was smashed at the port of Tampa underneath a steel plate, and he can tell us his success story where he really was in a rough shape, and he's doing great now. He's an amazing man. And then we've got a big lawsuit that's going on now against Pearson Woods Academy that is definitely going to be interesting. It's kind of made the news here recently. It's a terrible situation where my client was abused at the facility by people there. And so that one, I don't know how much we'll be able to get to because it's still in litigation, but definitely something worth exploring down the road. And he definitely wants his story to be told. So yeah.
Well, absolutely. And we are appreciative to share your stories on We Trust Travis. We Trust Travis is scheduled for every month, every fourth Tuesday, and we're looking forward to sharing your story. Thank you so much, Travis McConnell. I'm Serena Fazan.
Thank you, and look forward to speaking with everybody. And I'm sure that there'll be more stuff about, if we get into politics again, there'll probably be stuff about that, and obviously our community involvement too. So, thanks everybody.
Thank you. To learn more about Travis McConnell, head to travismclaw.com. Thank you for listening to We Trust Travis.